If I asked you to describe what life would look like for the very best version of you, what would your answer be? What would their day look like? What would they value? How would they spend their mornings, their evenings? What matters to them? Maybe they would wake up a little earlier, make a green juice, and have breakfast with their family. Maybe they would put their phone down while they ate dinner. Maybe they would finally read that book or drink more water. We could all describe how the very best version of us might spend their days, but what we don't realize is that the only person standing in the way of becoming that person, living that life, is you. So for the next 6 weeks, I'm going to live like the very best version of me. Let's see what happens. Before I get into what my 10 daily and 3 weekly non-negotiables are going to be for the next 6 weeks, I really want us to do this together. I really want you to do this with me. Your non-negotiables might look exactly like mine, or you might want to edit the list a little bit to include things that are really important to you personally. So, for example, one of yours might be that for 1 hour every single day, you want to spend time with your children with no screens or something like that. All that matters is that we're showing up as the very best version of ourselves for the next 6 weeks, and we're going to do it all together. 6 weeks felt like a really good amount of time to truly kind of test and reflect on how these changes actually impact your life, and how you're feeling, and what you're achieving, and all of that kind of stuff. And I guess kind of how your life changes when you're not just daydreaming about the kind of person you wish you were, but you're actually making daily steps towards being that person. Okay, this first one is probably the one that you've heard the most often. I'm not saying I have to wake up by 6 or by 5 a.m. every single day. All I'm committing to is waking up early enough every day that I feel like I've got a head start on the day. Making sure that I'm not sleeping in, that I'm not waking up with 10 minutes before I need to be somewhere, that I'm not missing anything, and just waking up with enough time to pace my morning in the way that I want to. That is going to look slightly different depending on what time you start work or what time you have commitments in the morning. Just think, it's really important to start your day with a feeling of control over your day, rather than your day is about to take control of you. Which is how it can sometimes feel when you wake up and you're already running behind on the things you need to do in the day. So, that is my first daily non-negotiable. My second non-negotiable is getting ready for the day within an hour of waking up. So that includes showering, skincare, makeup, getting dressed, and brushing my teeth. All of these things within an hour of waking up. This one is so important for setting the tone for the rest of the day. As I mentioned, I work from home, and I can be really guilty of spending the first couple of hours of my day in my pajamas. But that's never good for productivity or how I feel about myself. I feel like maybe it's along similar lines to why people say you should make your bed when you first get up because it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the day. Definitely, getting up and getting ready sets the tone for the rest of my day. And, as silly as it sounds, it makes me more open to engaging with other people. For example, when I wake up and I put on my scruffiest clothes and I go out without even doing my skincare to take Rue for a walk, I find myself not really wanting to engage in conversations with people because I don't feel presentable. I don't feel good about myself. I don't feel confident. Whereas when I've made myself presentable, I've done my skincare. I'm feeling good. I just feel like I'm a much more open person. If that makes sense to anyone. I do totally appreciate some of you might think that's really superficial, really shallow. I should be confident no matter what. So, it's less about what I look like and more about how I feel about myself. Once I've showered and done my skincare and all of that stuff. My third non-negotiable is no phone before 9 a.m., after 9 p.m., or during meal times. This one, I feel like, is going to be the biggest game changer for me because I just the other day actually had an example of why this is so important. I woke up in the morning feeling great, feeling positive about my day, in a good mood, had loads of things planned, was going to be really productive. And the first thing I did was roll over, open my phone, go into my emails, and see an email that basically said that I hadn't got something that I really wanted, and that just affected my mood for the rest of the morning. I was feeling self-doubt. I was feeling down about it. I no longer wanted to be productive, and it really, really affected me. And I just found myself thinking, I wish I hadn't opened that email before. I'd even given my day a chance to get started. I also remember hearing that you're more vulnerable and fragile in the first 30 minutes, I think, when you wake up. Your brain is less resilient, more susceptible to taking things in. So it's really, really important to just give yourself that time in the morning. And I also think for a similar reason in the evening, rather than scrolling through other people's lives for an hour before you go to sleep. Just not doing that. And then, not going on my phone during mealtime is really to tackle this attention deficit situation. I think all of us are affected by this to some degree, but I've really noticed it in myself recently, especially in the evening when I'm watching a movie or something. I keep reaching for my phone, which is such like a compulsive behavior. And I hate it. I really want to be more present in the moment that I'm actually in, whether that's eating my meal, whether that's watching a movie. I want to be where my feet are, as the saying goes. And I also just really noticed that mindlessly scrolling really gives me brain fog and negatively impacts my mood. So I'm really excited to see how much that changes things, because my prediction is a lot. My fourth non-negotiable is reading 10 pages of a nonfiction book every single day. I am such a reader. I love my books. If you watch any of my videos, I'm always talking about what I'm reading, what books I've bought, what books I'd recommend. But recently, I've really gotten out of the habit of reading nonfiction. I'm very much in my fiction era, which I love, and there is so much value to be found in fiction books. People who say you can't get anything from fiction books just blow my mind because you can get so much from them. But there is also so much value in nonfiction books, and for some reason I just am not getting into them. I guess because unlike fiction books, not all of them have that instant hook. So I'm not really giving the books a fair chance, and it kind of feeds into that attention deficit thing. Rather than focusing on the book and sticking with it, I'm thinking I'll read something else, I'll do something else, I'll do that another time. And I should really know better than that because I have learned so much from nonfiction books. A lot of how I live my life has come from things that I have read in nonfiction books. So, of course, I'll still read my fiction books. That's what I'm planning to do in the evenings when I'm not scrolling on my phone, probably in the mornings with my cup of tea. I'm going to do my 10 pages of nonfiction, which I actually started this morning, which is why I keep pointing down there because that's the book I was reading this morning. And I always take a highlighter and highlight the things that stand out to me. And I got so much just from doing that for half an hour this morning that I just know this is going to be a really good. My fifth non-negotiable is doing 8 to 10,000 steps outside every single day. I say 8 to 10,000 because there is this obsession with 10,000 steps, but I actually heard some kind of doctor or someone very qualified say that once you reach, I think it's 7,000 steps, the additional kind of 3,000, there's not really kind of the benefits plateau, if that makes sense. So the benefits you would get from doing 7,000 steps a day versus 10,000 steps a day are pretty similar. So I just thought there's no point putting a hard figure on 10,000 steps and doing things like walking around my living room to try and get there every day. Just somewhere between 8 to 10,000 steps, most importantly outside every single day, because one of the goals I always have is to make sure that I'm spending a healthy portion of my day outside. What I'm actually thinking for these next 6 weeks is that instead of doing one long dog walk in the middle of the day, I might try doing 3 shorter dog walks because I think not only will that be really good for me in terms of getting me regularly up and out of the house, but also I think it could be really good for Rue to break up her walks a little bit. So I'm kind of thinking a walk before breakfast, a walk before lunch, and a walk before dinner, while we have the daylight hours. Number 6 is pretty self-explanatory, but again, it's something that I so often fall out of the habit of, even though I know it makes the biggest difference to how I feel, to my digestion, to my skin, to so many things. So, I'm gonna drink 2 liters of water every single day. And I have my big glass water bottle to make that possible. My 7th non-negotiable is to do 30 minutes of resistance-based exercise at least 3 times a week. I am not going to set myself the goal that I need to do that every single day because I just know that is not realistic. And I also have quite an active life, just in the sense that I do a lot of walking because I walk through and I really enjoy walking. But I often use that as an excuse to myself for not needing to do other types of exercise. And as amazing as cardio is and walking and all of that kind of stuff, it is also really important to properly elevate your heart rate and actually use your muscles. And that is something, full transparency, that I really am so inconsistent with. Occasionally, I would do like 3-4 classes a week, and then I'll go 5 weeks without doing anything. So for the next 6 weeks, I'm going to do some resistance exercise at least 3 times a week. Okay, number 8 is doing 30 minutes of tidying at the end of each day in an effort to try and keep on top of this house. I am not the best at being tidy. I am someone who could really learn from put something back once you've used it. But for some reason, I'm more use something, leave it there, worry about it later. Which is a disaster, and even more of a disaster now that we live in a bigger house, because I can close doors on things and just ignore them. That is not a good method, because I am also not somebody that thrives in a messy environment. I don't think anybody is. I think there's something really calming about having a really tidy space. And when I know there are areas in my house that are so messy, I find it really distracting, really off-putting. It makes me not want to go in there, not want to do whatever it is I need to do in that room, especially in the kitchen. It makes me not want to cook if I know that I need to do the washing up. So I'm going to tackle that by doing 30 minutes of tidying every single evening. Obviously, I still need to do proper deep cleans of the house like every week, but just to kind of stay on top of things, minimum 30 minutes every evening. Okay, number 9 is to spend 15 minutes every day with no external stimulation. So, what I mean by this is no screens, no radio, no music, no podcasts, no phone calls. Just nothing but my own thoughts for 15 minutes every day. And that might sound kind of silly, but it's really occurred to me recently how easy it is to spend an entire day without any time with just your thoughts. It is so easy to fill every single second with the radio on, with podcasts on. One habit that I have is when I go and take Rue for a walk, I always ring my parents, which I love, and I will always speak to them every single day. But that actually could be really valuable time to just be with my own thoughts, be in nature, and just see what thoughts come to me, because they are often the times when I have the best creative ideas and that sort of thing, especially now if I'm splitting my walks into 3. One of them, I can listen to a podcast. One of them, I can call my parents. And then one of them can be timed just to reflect on my own thoughts and see what comes up. My final daily non-negotiable is that I'm going to spend 20 minutes every day planning, organizing, writing to-do lists, and just staying on top of things mentally. Because sometimes it feels like my head is so full of little tasks and things that should be written down on a to-do list, dates I might forget, and all of that kind of thing. There's no room for focusing on anything. So, I'm really going to commit to sitting down for 20 minutes, and my sole purpose in that 20 minutes is to kind of get everything that's whirring around into my head down onto paper so that I can wipe the slate clean and focus on what I need to focus on that day or the following day. Okay, so these 3 weekly non-negotiables I'm actually really excited about because these are kind of like the fun, new, different things. So, the first weekly non-negotiable is that every single week I'm going to try something totally new for me. So, this could be something really small, like cooking a new recipe for dinner that you've never tried, or it could be something much bigger, like taking a trip to somewhere that you've never been before, starting a new class like an art class, a cooking class, pottery class, something like that. It could be having your first therapy session or signing up to learn a new language. It's really just about doing something that pushes me out of my comfort zone and opens up opportunities. Because my mom always says something along the lines of, if you continue to do what you've always done, you know that nothing will change. But if you try something new, you don't know what will happen. Because she's always telling me to take a class or to go and join a reading group or something like that. But yeah, I'm actually really excited about that because it means in 6 weeks' time, I will have done 6 things that I've never done before, which is pretty cool. So, those are all of my daily and weekly non-negotiables for the next 6 weeks. I'm honestly really excited about this. I'm so excited to see how I feel, how my life looks, how things change, what I achieve, and all of those kind of things. And I'm also really excited to hear what it does for you if you do this with me. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you're going to do this with me. Please do it with me because I need to be held accountable. It's just more fun doing things together. I hope this video was helpful and that after 6 weeks, you will be a much better version of yourself. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next video. Bye, guys!